Hey everyone. Hey. Well, hello. Hey. Hey guys, okay, cool. So Björk and I are in the cab right now, sun shining, because I have written myself a list of questions. Question number 1 is, how long have you lived in a van? Almost a year.
At this point, I spent far too long explaining that I took a few months out of the van whilst I was house sitting at the end of the year because I didn't have a heating system installed. Meanwhile, Björk fell asleep, and then she decided to leave.
Oh. I'm back. So yes, it's now February, and that means that I have been living in a van for a total of almost 8 months. Okay, so question 2. Why did you decide to live in a van? Well, the short answer is that I wanted to have a really cool experience and adventure, and also I wanted to save on paying rent. But the long answer takes me back to when I was 19 years old and I had this amazing dream of living on a narrowboat. Of course, I didn't end up doing that, at least not at this stage in my life. And I made the decision to live in a van instead. But I feel like the things that attracted me and made me want to live on a narrowboat are exactly the same as what made me want to live in a van. For example, it's a way of being able to buy your home outright. Buy your home and then you own it and it belongs to you, and you don't have to pay the bank back loads of money for the rest of your life, and it's your base. So it brings this sort of sense of security and stability in that way, and that obviously ties into not paying rent because you've already paid for your home, so you're not having to pay someone else to live in their home. Also, the thing that I needed at that time in my life was my own space. So again, living in a van gave me the ability to live by myself, and with the small, tiny income that I had, it meant that I didn't have to live in shared accommodation. And at the time when I decided to buy a van, I was very much attracted to the alternative lifestyle and off-grid and very, very simple way of living. I wanted to have more of that experience. And then, of course, it goes without saying, the novelty of being able to travel with your home is so cool. Yeah, the idea of getting in your home and driving it to another country. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so question 3. What is the best thing about living in a van? Well, if my van were roadworthy, then I think my answer to this question would be very different. My answer would be more freedom and more choice. But considering the circumstances that I find myself and my van in at the moment, I am actually quite limited in terms of freedom and choice. So as it stands now, the best thing about living in a van for me is the fact that I don't have to pay rent. It's not that I am totally anti-paying rent. I'm not. It's that when you are in a job that is paying you minimum wage and you are living in a country where the cost of rental prices is extremely high, then it just makes life very stressful. So here in Glastonbury, you would be able to find a room in a shared house for about £500 a month, and that's pretty much minimum. I work in a job that pays me £8.50 an hour. When you do the maths, you realise it really doesn't leave a lot for me to enjoy a particularly good quality of life. If you remember at the beginning of this video, I mentioned that I had been house sitting at the end of last year. Even though I was house sitting, I was still paying rent. It was much less than I would have had to have paid if it were an official rental agreement, but nonetheless, I still found myself very financially squeezed. Working a 3-day week makes me feel much happier, much healthier. Obviously, it leaves me with more time to focus on my own well-being and my own projects. Question 4. What is the worst thing about living in a van? Well, as you can see from my hair growth, I started filming this video about 2 months ago. And so my original answer is this. Okay, that one's really easy. Is not having a proper toilet. Yeah. It's not so bad. It's really not. But there have been occasions that have been pretty uncomfortable. But since then, I have actually moved my van. I have moved it onto a yard where I can start doing the work, fixing it up. I say I was really relieved when, after a few days of moving onto the yard, the owner of this place actually built a composting toilet right outside my van. So I am very happy to say that that issue is now resolved. So my new worst thing about living in a van is not having a shower. For the first 6 months of van life, I did have a gym membership, but to be honest, it just became too long going all the way to the gym in the morning, every morning, and washing and then coming back and starting my day. So I decided instead to shower this way. A bowl, my kettle, a flannel, and this if I wash my hair. Like I said, there really is nothing bad about this way that I shower. The only thing is that it takes quite a lot longer. It doesn't mean that I feel any less clean, because I don't. I wash pretty much everywhere. It's probably just really my legs that I don't, so they're probably tasting pretty salty right now. But yes, obviously heating up the water and then having to wash body part by body part in total takes a long time. And in the winter it took even longer, because the first thing that I would have to do would be light the fire so that I could heat the water, because I couldn't heat the water on the gas stove, because then I would get carbon monoxide in the van and my carbon monoxide detector would go off, and it was too cold to open the windows and the doors to let the carbon monoxide out. So it took me ages. Okay, final question. What are your future plans? I like to let life flow me in the direction that it wants to flow me in, and I like my desires and my goals to evolve organically. When I set off in Dreamy and I arrived in Glastonbury, I wasn't looking any further ahead than the next 6 months. My goal at the time was to get to know this town and work in a crystal shop, and I was able to manifest exactly those desires really quickly. And so now I do find myself in a moment in my life where I'm just not sure where it's going to take me. I'm a very open person, so I'm open to ideas and new passions that I decide I want to pursue. But also I always find myself wanting to travel. Of course, it makes sense to go on some adventures in my van, so that's a possibility. But I do think that's something that I would prefer to do with somebody else. I think it would be really beautiful to be able to share such an epic journey with someone else. So watch this space, because Magical Adventures with Amy and Björk could be taking us anywhere. And you lucky people, you get a bonus question. What the hell have you been doing during lockdown? You basically live in a shoebox. Well, my friends, you are just going to have to wait on that cliffhanger, because I will be answering that question in my next video, and I will dedicate an entire video to show you what the hell I get up to when I'm not allowed to basically do anything. But before I go, I want to say a huge thank you to every single person that watched my first video, and I want to say thank you to my, last time I checked, 62 subscribers. That makes me so happy. All the people who gave me a thumbs up, even the 2 people who gave me a thumbs down, thank you. It means you engaged enough to dislike my video, and I am so grateful for that. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again next time.
Björk.